Viva ARETA, viva!
Viva!
Once again, Comrade Nkolo, Dr. Mogonedi, and all comrades who are representatives of the various branches that we have established throughout Gauteng. Welcome here, comrades. I'm very happy that you were able to come. Comrades, ARETA is a new and young organization. We are in the process of establishing ourselves throughout the length and the breadth of South Africa. And we have also done so here in the province of Gauteng. During the last couple of months, we opened branches on the Vaal, in Soweto, on the East Rand, in Tshwane, on the West Rand. This is a big achievement for a young organization that only started a few months ago. And I'm saying this very deliberately, comrades, because sometimes one tends to become despondent. And you say, but we are not making progress as we would wish. And I love that ambition. I love that need to grow as fast as possible and to become a strong and big organization. But in that ambition that we have, we mustn't undermine ourselves. It is very, very important that we acknowledge what we have achieved. Remember, we only started on the 23rd of February this year. And we only started signing up members a month later, in March. Now, as we sit here today, we already can count throughout the country hundreds of thousands of members. And that is a big achievement, comrades. We can also say that we have established our name nationally throughout the country. ARETA is very well known throughout South Africa. When you read the newspapers, you listen to the commentators on radio and television, they never fail to refer to ARETA. They always take ARETA into consideration as a political force in South Africa. To have achieved that in 6 months is a massive achievement, comrades. And we should congratulate ourselves. I know that there are those, give yourself a I know that there are those who tried to decampaign us. There have even been those who have been trying to come to our branches and steal our members. All of you, as representatives of the branches here, will be able to give us examples of that having happened. Comrades, we must not see that as a threat. We must see it as a compliment. Because those who come to us and try and steal our members acknowledge our strength. And the important thing for us is not to try and become reactionary and to fight against those who do so. They are the ones who are politically immature. They are the ones who are behaving in a way that is not comradely if they're part of the progressive broad left in South Africa. For us, it is not to start fights with other comrades. For us, it's not to start turf fights with those who try to steal our members. For us, it is to say we are going to work hard to build our membership. We are going to go out there and tell people what our ideology is, what we stand for. We've got a 10-point plan to save our country. That 10-point plan we must popularize throughout the country. Every member of ARETA. When you wake that person up in the middle of the night, even when it's dark, when Eskom is busy load shedding, and you say, what does ARETA stand for? They must be able to recite the 10-point plan of ARETA. If I start pointing at any one of you here, comrades, in the hall, as representatives of our branches here in Gauteng, will you be able to recite the 10-point plan of ARETA to me? Will you? I see people are shaking their heads. I'm not going to put you to the test. I believe you, comrades, that you know what the 10-point plan is. But the point I'm making is that right from the beginning, we said ARETA must be a political organization that is driven by ideology, not by personalities, not by egos, not by celebrities, but by ideology. Because ultimately, the reason why we're in the trouble that we are today is because the current government has lost ideology. It is no longer committed to anything. It is only committed to enriching themselves, exploiting the people, and putting as much money as possible in their own pockets. Yes. That we can never stand for. So our position is we've got a clear plan. And we will present that plan to the people of South Africa. Every branch that we have opened, the first thing you do, and you will remember, comrades, those of you who have been at those branch meetings where we started the branch, is that there's a political lecture. This morning, Comrade Nkolo showed me the agenda. And she had put the political lecture at the end of the agenda. It was a genuine mistake. I said, no, we put the political lecture of the president right at the beginning. Because everything we discuss in the context of our political orientation. So I want to be able soon, as soon as Dr. Mogonedi and ourselves in the National Working Board manages to have enough money. I want us to have pamphlets printed by the hundreds of thousands that we must distribute throughout the country with a 10-point plan of ARETA. I also want to see our t-shirts, not just with the logo of ARETA on the front, but the 10-point plan on the back. So anyone who looks at us know what we stand for and understand what are the changes that we want to bring to this country. And anyone who looks at that 10-point plan must see as the first point in the 10-point plan is return of the land to the people. Expropriation of land without compensation. Anyone who reads through that 10-point plan must be able to see that we are going to nationalize the South African Reserve Bank. And when we work our way through the plan and we get to point 8, everyone must know that we say undocumented, illegal foreigners must be arrested and they must be repatriated to the current countries of origin. So we are clear what we stand for. Now the challenge for us is, comrades, to make sure that this plan that we stand for is popularized throughout the country. But what is also critically important, comrades, is that we must build unity amongst all the left forces in South Africa. I can tell you that as the leadership of ARETA and as myself as president of ARETA, I am every day engaging with the leaders of the other left progressive political parties, with the ATM, with the Pan-Africanist Congress, with the United Democratic Movement, with the EFF, and anyone else who is progressive and left. And the message that we convey is that we must find a way of bringing ourselves as much as possible together in a united force. And I want all of us, comrades, as ARETA to commit that we are going to work with all the other progressive political parties. Exactly how that formulation of working together is going to look, we will still work on. But the principle that we must be united and that we must be able to challenge this sell-out ANC regime of Cyril Ramaphosa as a united force, we must be committed. And that's why I started in this political input to say to you, comrades, even if there are those comrades in other political parties on the left who call themselves progressive, who behave in a politically immature fashion, who try to steal our members and undermine our organizational structures, let us not be provoked. Let us continue to work to build our organization and to make our organization a strong force for left progressive unity in South Africa. Comrades, today we are together here as representatives of the branches that we have established. I know that as you sit here and as we will be going into the discussions later in this meeting, you will raise many concerns. I know that one of the biggest concerns you will raise is the concern of resources, because it is a challenge. It is a challenge, but it is not an obstacle that will defeat us. And that is the way I want us to approach it. Not in a defeatist manner, but in a way where we say, first of all, we understand that ARETA is not a party of the rich. Our membership doesn't come from Bryanston, from Sandton, from Sandhurst, from Hyde Park. Yes, there are people there who will join us. But our membership are the poor black African people of this country, most of whom are unemployed. Dr. Moganedi will remember that in one of the meetings on the East Rand, when we launched the branch, I think it was in Polar Park, I asked the question, who of you comrades who are in this hall are employed? Not a single hand went up. That is the tragedy of what we face in South Africa. Poverty, unemployment, and the dignity of our people being undermined and destroyed by poverty and lack of economic growth. So we are a party of the poor. We are a party of the unemployed, of the oppressed. So it's not surprising that we don't have money. And those who have money, the rich, the big companies, the big, mainly white monopoly capitalist companies, but also those black comprador capitalists, the Cyril Ramaphosa's, the Patrice Motsepes, those people, they will not want to give money to ARETA. Why would they want to give money to ARETA? Because ARETA says we want to restructure the economy. We want to make sure that the South African Reserve Bank is nationalized. We want to nationalize the big mining industry. Now, do you think those who are the owners of those businesses will want to give us money?
No.
They feel threatened by us. They say no. And then there are also some who do want to give us money, some businesses, but they are scared. Because you know how this Ramaphosa regime operates. If they see that someone gives money to ARETA, they are going to victimize that businessman or businesswoman. They will prevent them from being able to do business, to get tenders. They try to destroy their businesses. I had a comrade, I'm not going to mention his name, in Natal. A very good comrade, but also a solid businessman. And in one of the exchanges on Facebook, where I was being insulted and our ideology of radical economic transformation was being insulted, this comrade decided he's going to come out and defend us. So he posted. Within a week after he posted, he lost 30 million rands worth of business. Government just closed down the tenders he had with him. They didn't care whether they followed proper tender procedures. They closed it down. Fortunately, the comrade was able to survive, but his business was almost destroyed. So this is the hostile environment in which we have to operate. So we must make do, comrades, with what we have. We must have a commitment inside ourselves, where we say, even if it's difficult, we are going to continue to work. And we're going to do things differently. We're going to work in our communities. Where we have little resources, we're going to engage with the community to build up and to be community-driven. I love what Dr. Mokhwanedi and those comrades on the East Rand was doing, where there were families who lost homes because of electricity surges and fires, and homes were burned down. They came together, brought a little bit of money, but bought the necessary materials to build a house for that family again. When they were young students who lost their school uniforms, everything, their clothes, they couldn't go to school. The little money that there was spent to buy school uniforms for those kids, to make sure that they go back to school, because we understand the importance of education. We treasure education. Now you see, comrades, there's not a lot of money around. But what those comrades did is they used the little money to go a long way. They used that money to be able to speak to the community, not with a lot of ideology, not with a lot of words. People can't eat words. Words don't put a roof over your head. Words don't put a school uniform on the back of a young child who must go to school. It is real action that makes a change. Amilcar Cabral, who is one of the biggest revolutionary ideologists of Africa, said the people don't fight for words. They don't fight for good-sounding ideological concepts. They fight for a plate of food on the table, for shoes on their feet, and clothes on their bodies. So, what Dr. Mokgwenedi and the other comrades on the East Rand were able to do, with little resources, they were able to speak to the communities there, in Paula Park, everywhere, and say, this is what ARETA is about. The 10-point plan of ARETA says the people must share in the wealth of the country. The 10-point plan of ARETA talks about proper care, shelter, jobs for people. Here is a family who's lost a home. We've built a home for them. Remember that saying, comrades. Actions speak much louder than words. So that is how we as ARETA must operate, through action. Yes, we must have our 10-point plan. Yes, we must be built on a strong, radical economic transformation ideology. But we must always be able to translate that political philosophy into real action to show to people how that ideology can change their lives in real life on a daily basis. Comrades, I want us today to discuss what is the state of our branches. I want us to discuss, also through the input that Comrade Nkolo is going to give, and then all of you as representatives from the branches, about how far you've been able to move in any of the branches that have been established. And I want you to be very honest with us. Don't come and tell us nice stories. Don't try and buy our faces. Tell us the truth, even if the truth is not always the nicest thing to hear. Beyond that, Dr. Mokgwenedi and myself will explain to you what we in the National Working Board of ARETA are trying to do in establishing a national structure for ARETA, not just at a national level, but also at a provincial, at a regional and a branch level. Our Secretary General, Comrade Nkosazana Shezi, whom I've invited to come to this meeting, but unfortunately, because of other commitments, he had not been able to come, is working together with the whole National Working Board on an overall organizational strategy. That strategy he's going to present to the National Working Board of ARETA coming Tuesday. I would love for this meeting to be able to give input to Comrade Chesi, so that he understands what is actually happening in our branches here in Gauteng too. And that he will be able to incorporate the report from this meeting of branch coordinators and conveners that we have today into that report, and that can reflect in the final decisions that the National Working Board takes. I want to conclude, comrades. We want not only to build the branches that have already been established, with all the problems and perhaps some of the challenges that there are. We want to be able also to reach out and create new branches here in Gauteng and throughout South Africa. Because we want to grow our membership as strongly as possible. We've got very little time, comrades. It is now already October. Next year, 2024, is the national and provincial elections. And all the indications that we get is that the Ramaphosa regime is planning to call the elections early rather than late, to try and catch us on the back foot. So we may only have 4, 5 or 6 months to do whatever work we can do. And I can see on your faces, comrades, you say, yo, that sounds like an impossible journey that you are sketching for us. But comrades, nothing in this life I've learned is impossible if you have will and commitment. And we need to put our shoulder to the wheel to make it work. It is in that context that I'm also pleading with you that we need to work with other progressive political formations. Because alone, we cannot hope to make it. But united, we can. We certainly can. United, we will be able to mobilize the large number of South Africans who are deeply disaffected with the Ramaphosa regime. I'm sure, comrades, you know that when you go into your communities, wherever you are, people are very unhappy with Ramaphosa and the ANC. The ANC has lost the love of the people. The ANC has exposed itself now to be the exploiters, the self-centered people that they are. The challenge for us is how do we manage to mobilize that discontent, that total rejection that we are now seeing in our communities of the African National Congress. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is when we're able to provide people with an alternative which people can believe. Yes. And that means us as politicians, us as members of ARETA in our local communities and in our branches, must act with integrity. What we say we're going to do, we must do. We must never make false promises. We mustn't come and overpromise and underdeliver. We must always be realistic in what we're going to do. The biggest problem that we have in South Africa today as political parties is that the general population of South Africa are cynical. They no longer believe politicians. They don't trust politicians. They have been sold all the lies by the ANC. Every time the ANC come and knock on their doors, come and make promises just before election time. Heaven and earth is promised. But once the elections are over, nothing happens. Poverty gets worse. The lack of service delivery gets worse. So the first thing we have to do is that we must act with integrity. And we must win over people in our communities to trust us, to believe in us, to understand that we are not just the usual old lying politicians. We must make a clear distinction between ourselves and people like Ramaphosa and all those sellouts with him. If we can achieve that, if we can work together, If we can start in the next month also a voter registration campaign, where we challenge every South African who is eligible to vote to register. And we explain to people that the only way you will get rid of this sellout ANC government that are exploiting you is if you register to vote and you go and vote. And you don't vote again for the same old sellouts. You don't vote for the African National Congress. You vote for ARETA. You vote for progressive political parties. You make sure that in your millions you come out and vote the ANC out of power. But then, and here I conclude, you must be able to present a real, practical plan to the people. You must be able to tell the gogo who cannot live on that social little pension that she gets. You must be able to tell the young student who's gone and studied but today doesn't have a job that there will be a better future, that there will be an improvement in pension payments and also in job creation. And you must be able to bring together in unity all the progressive forces in this country. So my comrades, as I stand here, I commit myself together with our National Working Board of ARETA. We are going to work tirelessly, day and night, to unite all the progressive left forces in South Africa. But we are going to do so as ARETA. We will stand as ARETA working for unity. And that is why it is so important that we must grow our numbers, that we must grow our structures, that we must reach out to our communities. We must print those 10-point plans and distribute them everywhere. We must print those t-shirts with a 10-point plan on the back of every t-shirt saying what we stand for. We will form a united force of all of us, and ARETA will be part of the center, part of the foundation of that united force. We will build it on a minimum program of action that will be committed to the return of the land to the people, to the nationalization of the South African Reserve Bank, to the restructuring of our economy, to the creation of jobs for young people, to a proper national health care system, to dealing with illegal, undocumented foreigners, to building a police force that will fight crime, and those criminals who subject our communities to the suffering, to the drug addiction, to the murder, to the rape, to all those ills of society. We will have a police force that will make sure that those criminals are arrested, are actually charged, are actually sentenced, and will stay in prison. They will not be in some kind of revolving door where one day they go in, the next day they go out. We will be strict. We will stand strong on the law. We will not allow South African citizens to be treated in disregard while foreigners are given a future. So, comrades, that's the political background. We cannot allow the current disaster that is unfolding in our country to continue. We cannot allow the ANC and Cyril Ramaphosa to stay in power beyond next year. Next year is actually already too late, but no longer the next year. So that is why we are here, to commit ourselves to work tirelessly and to do the right things to achieve that objective. And in this political context that I've sketched now, I'm asking you, comrades, in a very practical, in a very honest, in a very organizationally sound way, to now enter into discussions about what the state of organization here in Gauteng is, and then also to locate yourself within the whole national organizational structure of ARETA, and to make suggestions also to us as a national working board on how we can take on board your decisions and your proposals when we discuss how to grow this organization and strengthen our structures. Thank you, comrades. Amandla! Viva ARETA, viva! Viva! Viva ARETA, viva! Viva! Come, comrades, I want more oomph. Viva ARETA, viva! Viva! That's it again. Viva ARETA, viva! Viva! A luta continua! A luta! A luta continua!